Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a professional match of StarCraft 2. This particular series was played at HomeStory Cup. Now I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up happening between these two teammates because they met before during the event. Spotting right here in the bottom left, joined by the Basilisk icon, we have none other than Reynor. His opponent in the bottom right, well, not joined by the Basilisk logo on the main hatchery, but likewise also part of that team. We have none other than Serral. Serral takes on Reynor in a best of 5. And these two, they met before during the upper bracket of the playoff stage of HomeStory Cup, where Reynor ended up taking the 3-0 victory. Maybe a little bit surprising for some, but Reynor has been an absolute beast in Zerg vs. Zerg for many years, and really one of the very few players who has eliminated Serral many times out of events. So maybe a bit of an unsurprising result for some, maybe surprising for others, but Reynor is a beast in this particular matchup. But of course, later that same day, later that same day, I was just wondering if it was actually the next morning, but no. Later that same day, they played another best of 5 after Reynor also ended up getting knocked down to the losers bracket. Hatch first here for both players. We find ourselves in game number 1 on Old Sun Temple. Old Sun Temple is actually a 4-player map. So quite difficult, of course, to, send out an early Zergling squad. Doesn't mean that you can't go ahead and do a Zergling rush. We have seen some hatchery first as well on other maps, but pool first on a map like this is a little bit dangerous. Technically, it's still possible, but you have to take some chances, and at this level, it's usually not necessarily what you want to be doing unless you feel really desperate. Zerg vs. Zerg, though, has become very spicy because of the 8-worker start. We have this level of refinement in the matchup that is suddenly gone, right? So at the absolute highest level, Zerg vs. Zerg has become a reasonably mannered matchup over the years, where everybody sort of feels comfortable playing triple hatch. They try their absolute best to go for a hatchery first most of the time, just because it is really difficult at the highest level to actually shut players down. They're really good at defending cheese. They're really strong when it comes to, for example, stopping a Bingling flood or a Zergling all-in or an early pool of any kind. And because at the highest level they're so strong at that, well, you end up seeing hatchery first versus hatchery first more often than not. Right now, though, with the 8-worker start over a 12-worker start, nobody knows. Nobody knows anything anymore. We obviously have had some adjustments as well to the Zerg units in general. Like, for example, Microbial Shroud is now more powerful than it was before. There's a bunch of changes, especially that make Muta play a bit more viable. Like the Arc Slop that has been changed on the Muta list, but then also the Bounce. We've had a bunch of other adjustments as well that really does make this matchup. But I feel like the biggest change in this matchup really is the worker count. It just suddenly enables early game cheeses yet again. At the very least, between most Zerg players. But so far, these players are very mannered. Now, I don't really love this spawn location here for Serral. Okay, he decides to go for what looks like a low ground expand. Fair enough, but this is kind of dangerous. He has seen where his opponent lives, and would you look at this? Reynor also decides to expand in the direction of his opponent. These two apparently desperately need human connection. Or Zerg connection, I'm not sure. But they're really trying their best to be as close to the opponent as possible. And we already have Zerglings now for both players. It's very interesting. Like this new patch, at the highest level even, it looks like everybody's lost like 1,000 MMR. It's very curious. I don't think it's going to be there for all too long. In a few months' time, we'll probably look back at some of these games and think to ourselves, what were we ever really considering? But yeah, this seems to now go into a good old Ling all-in for both players. There is a Roach Warren here for Reynor. Serral has decided to go for the Bingling nest. Obviously, Banelings are really strong against Zerglings. Link speed already done here, though, for the finisher. Numbers currently in favor here of Reynor, except for these couple of Lings over there. Now Zergling speed is done as well for the Italian. Zergling is going to scout. Serral checks, sees the Roach Warren. Will he respond with his own Roach Warren, or are we going to double down? No, he decides to just go ahead and make a few drones here and there as well. Obviously, though, the problem is just mining this third base is nearly impossible. At least there's still some rocks and some minerals as well in between. But getting workers over at your third base is quite risky. Roach Warren right now 2 for Serral. Do we have any sort of Evo Chamber commitment? I don't think we're really brave enough to do so. Reynor is actually adding on a pretty quick Baneling nest of his own, and he's still making units. So Reynor is turning this early game aggression into effectively like an all-in. He really wants to try and pop his opponent's banelings, though, but that's always difficult to pull off. Yeah, he's flooding the map right now with roaches. Zerglings are going to be morphed into banelings here in just a moment, I'm sure, as he snipes the ling. Serral doesn't really know, but he is certainly suspicious. He's got an Overlord out onto the map. And that Overlord will see consistent Zerglings and units running by. Now you play the game of drones. And as we all know, in the game of drones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. Serral wants to see if there's any saturation. Huge scout. Serral sees no workers at the third. And then I guess it's time to panic. He wants to snipe these Banes, but he doesn't know how far along they are. Do you pull the drones back into the natural? Do you make any defensive spine crawlers? Serral's just going to be making roaches. He's currently 11 workers up. Okay, here we go. Reynor wants to commit. Banelings going in around the back. Very, very risky. Banelings, of course, one-shot Zerglings. Nice snipe over there at the front. But in the meantime, man, these Banes from the back are putting in so much work. Serral is being overwhelmed. As soon as those Banelings in red disappear, the Zerglings in blue are going to commit. Actually, he decides to commit right now, trying to bait out that forward Baneling. And I think right now it's gone. I don't see any Banelings anymore for Serral. And that should mean that the Zerglings are going to be able to swoop in, surround the roaches, and make it really difficult here for, well, Serral to continue playing the game. This is not enough damage yet, though, for Reynor. He really needs to start killing workers. Killing armies alone is not going to be good enough. But I think it's pretty much inevitable. Offensive banelings here for him as well. GG gets called. Reynor wins game number 1. That takes us to Blackrock. That now also means that Reynor has won 4 games in a row against Serral on the exact same day. Not something we hear of all too often. I mean, that very famous series that Serral played at the EWC in 2024 comes to mind, where he ended up losing to Clem 5-0 in the finals. That was pretty wild. But I mean, this is also a casual 4-game win streak right here for Reynor against the man who's considered to be the greatest Zerg player on the planet. You never really know. Reynor actually has got a really solid micro. I feel like it's something we don't talk about all too often. It's something that we almost just take for granted, right? Like, players at a high level are supposed to be really good at micro, but Reynor really has very strong game sense. I do wonder if being really good at League of Legends, I mean, this is a bit of a running joke, I guess. A lot of people give him crap for this, but Reynor's been playing League for a long time. He's very good at League of Legends. Obviously, you get to micro a single unit there, but I wonder if it actually does help with overall unit control in this game, too. Usually, so I've done quite a bit of coaching in StarCraft, as we have a pool first right here for Reynor. Usually, whenever I've done coaching in the past, and players say that they have played a MOBA, they get very tunnel visioned. I've noticed that usually players get very tunnel visioned and they only micro one unit. But it turns out when you can micro and macro, and you can do both of the things simultaneously, it's a very, very effective thing to do. Either way, here we go. Links are going to be running across the map. It's a hatchery first right here for Serral. Actually, no, it's not a hatchery first here for Serral. Correction. It's a pool first right here for Serral. Quick gas as well. Yeah, he decides to cancel the gas. Yeah, a little bit of indecisiveness. All right, I don't think you really do need it here. Either way, Serral doesn't know whether or not this is the 10 pool into a hatch on the low ground. I think that's probably the consideration here that he's making. So Reynor went for quite a few 10 pools at HomeStory Cup. 10 pool into an expand on the back of it. He did this against Elazer in a best of 5 series, where Elazer went for a hatch first every time, and Reynor went for a 10 pool every time. Now here we go, drones get pooled. Nice little bit of micro. Ooh, that was a perfect little bit of drone micro, actually. Yeah, Reynor can't really escape. Only 2 workers. That was disastrous for Reynor. That was probably the absolute best case outcome right there for Serral. So what he did was mineral walk the drones through the Zerglings and then hit the attack when half or so of them were surrounded. That's kind of nuts. So what you do is you right-click the drones onto the mineral field. Obviously, drones in this matchup, SCVs and probes can do the same thing. They can mineral walk, where they're not, like, hitting each other. Notice how, like, the drones over here are not really bumping into one another. It's the same for the queen marching through. That's a little bit of micro that you can indeed execute. And it's a cute play, but you just have to be quick on the keyboard, because otherwise things get messed up real fast. Yeah, I think against this type of style, Serral really did not need Zergling speed. But you never know, right? Obviously, Reynor, he's shown this build many times, so you never really know as Serral here. Is it really going to just be the same one again? Or is he mind gaming me? Okay, both players now building up their economy. To come back real quick, though, to the Kijkwijzer versus Reynor series. That series is a bit of a joke. So, talking to a bunch of the players at HomeStory Cup, they were all they had very strong and differing opinions. Like, for example, Lambo is pretty convinced that you can defend any early game pool with a hatchery first. And he may be right. I wouldn't be surprised if he's right. But all the timings are indeed a bit different. For example, players would be able to look at the minimap, see the timing at which Zerglings are spotted for the first time, and then determine, based on the size of the map, exactly what type of pool it is. Right? So this is the level of knowledge we're talking. If you see a group of Zerglings moving at a specific time on a specific map, they will know, okay, this is a 10 pool, this is a 12 pool, this is a 14 pool, right? It's those little... It's only a few seconds, but it's those little differences that make, a very big change. And that's the type of stuff that I guess we haven't really reached yet. The level of refinement that we haven't really gotten to yet on the new patch. So it's always a little bit of a guessing game. And I think Lambo is probably correct in saying that you can eventually defend any pool first with a hatch first. But right now, that's not really the case yet. Kijkwijzer really listened to that, though, and Kijkwijzer agreed, yes, you should be able to defend any sort of pool first by going for a hatchery first. So in the series that Reynor played against Kijkwijzer, Kijkwijzer went for a hatch first in every single game. Reynor went for a 10 pool in every single game. And therefore, he decided, okay, this is, apparently not good enough. And I think in every single game, he lost 9 or 10 drones. Surely the opponent isn't just going to do the exact same build again, right? Strong start right here for Serral, but he's decided to now go into an Evo chamber together with a Roach Warren. Link speed is about to finish up. +1 carapace, of course, does benefit all of the early game units here for Serral. This upgrade is also now a little bit cheaper. This upgrade, that is. From 150 minerals and gas to 100. For now, we're going to settle on trying to snipe this third base, but I don't think it's just going to be that, though. Is he really just going to send it for now? Is he already going to be sending the roaches across the map as well? That's my main question. Where are you guys rallied? Are you going to go straight across? Usually, you line it up with the +1 armor upgrade finishing. At this point, the Zerglings are sort of winning the fight. More reinforcements are coming in, though. Queens are already here. This is mostly just the numbers here, right? Initially, Serral had more, but Reynor now is catching up in that regard. What are the roaches going to do? I think you kind of have to wait. Yeah. The real strength is this upgrade. I think waiting so you can actually finish this up is really nice. Plus, if Reynor decides to respond to mass Zergling with banelings of his own, +1 armor actually gives his Zerglings, the red ones over here, a 1 HP survival against baneling hits. So far, though, baneling nest is nowhere to be seen. Reynor has decided to go double Evo chamber of his own. And he's going indeed into a bunch of spines now that he sees the roach move out. He also evacuates the third base straight up. The Zergling counterattack right here. That's what the Reynor is, of course, known for. Okay. Already, Zerglings are running back home, too. Do we have a full wall off? We can't, actually, because the Creep Tumor is blocking this. I don't really love that Creep Tumor here for Serral. +1 armor is done, though, here for Reynor. And it's not yet available here. Or, sorry, it's done right here for Serral, not yet available for Reynor. If Reynor finishes up both upgrades, I think life is going to be okay. Problem is, Evo Chamber is at the front. And that'll be the end of +1 melee. Zergling's still trying to be a nuisance, but reinforcing units are also popping out for Serral. Worker count is dead even. So I guess we can always just go back home here too. Still though, Corrosive Balls are real nice. Gets an Overlord here for his troubles. It deals full damage to both the Overlord as well as the Spine Crawler. Roach Warren goes down here too for Reynor. Yeah, now that all of the Zerglings here on the other side of the map are being chased away, most of them died, we can send the rest of the Ling army across the map. And I think this is just an overwhelming amount of units here for Serral. He's obviously also has the third base for larva generation, right? Even binding some of the cocoons there. Nice wraparound. The queens are falling. No injects anymore on the low ground. New queen starts up, but that's not going to happen. GG. And that will take us to the most popular map on the new map pool so far. we find ourselves on Washout. This map got picked a lot. Honestly, a little bit surprised. I mean, it's a good map. Most of the games do look pretty standard. But it's standard with like a little asterisk right next to the word because it is a little different. We have these giant rock formations in the middle of the map that all share HP. But most notably, there are 6 bases with golden minerals on this particular map. And these bases are also just very, very rich. Normally with a gold base, you get 6 golden mineral fields. With a blue base, you get 8. This is a 9 mineral field base. Now, all of these have little rocks right next to them that can then collapse. I guess it's like a cooling tower or whatever it's called. The cooling tower explodes and then destroys a bunch of mineral fields. And then it makes it, I guess, a more normal map. So this map, especially the first 4 bases, are quite standard. But the longer it goes, the stranger the map does become. But at the very least, looking at the games at the first tournament so far, yeah, Washout seems to be a very popular map, especially in a best of 3. It is one of those things that can change, but something that doesn't change is an early pool. 10 pool. 10 pool yet again. Surely Serral wouldn't go for a hatchery first. Again. Well, last game it was a pool first from Serral. This is that rock, paper, scissors, that mind game of the mirror matchups especially. Where Reynor is now doing the same build twice in a row. Didn't really work out all too well in the previous game, but you know what we do? We just send it again. And this will be the first time that Serral sees it here with his very first Overlord. Overlord's now also a little bit slower, by the way. That also really doesn't help the timings. You can't just add like a 40 seconds flat to every single build and then assume that you know what's going on. Not the case. Overlord scout speed is also a bit slower. Alright, anyways. There is a spawning pool. But you need to dance. Hope you're wearing your tutu, Serral. Hope you got your dancing shoes on. A lot of lost mining time, of course, regardless. What you really need, though, is to buy time here for the Zerglings to come out. So I'm expecting to see Lynx immediately fire up. He doesn't have that much money. Yeah, he's going a queen on the low ground over here. Can't afford the queen in the main base. Just spending as much larva as possible. Serral stacking the drones. Oh, sneaks the low HP one into the main base. I quite like it, but this is already a lot of mining here that's being lost. And honestly, a lot of HP is now missing as well on that natural expansion. Still, though, I think Serral should be able to keep the base alive. But the question is, at what cost? So many drones are dying. Nice micro, though, forcing those units to engage with the Vespian gas geyser at their back. 6 drones. Maybe 7. That one's for the Gen Alpha viewers. You're welcome. Serral's very polite like that. No, not 8. 8's not funny. Forget about 8. It's 6 or 7, okay? If you do 8, you gotta go 9. For the millennials. I really dislike losing this Overlord. If you lose this Overlord, I think that's an excellent way to get back into the game. Yeah. So, despite the fact that Serral lost a lot of mining time and he obviously also lost a lot of workers, I think this is fine. I think this is honestly fine for the Zerg in red. He's doing a little bit of counter-attacking, forcing some additional production here for Reynor at home. And while I don't really call this an advantage here for Reynor, I don't think it's the end of the world right here for Serral. I also don't think it's an advantage for him. I think this game is very even. Okay. You know what? I don't think there's really a whole lot of Gen Alpha watching StarCraft anyways. Yeah, it's mostly 30-plus-year-olds pretending they think 6-7 is really funny. Or maybe some of you watch this game with your kids or something. That could be. That could be. Then it's hilarious again. I learned actually that Bella is apparently Generation Beta. Yeah. My daughter is literally a beta right from the start. Unlucky. Anyways. Second gas here for Serral. I do quite like it, actually. He's decided to go for the gases over here on the low ground. So, difficult here for Reynor to scout. He can't really fly in an Overlord into the main base. And that, of course, means that, well, you never really get a lot of vision. If there is going to be visioned over Reynor, he will probably see the gases in the natural expansion first. And if you see quick double gas on the low ground, you probably assume mutas right away. Not the case here for Serral. He's just prioritizing the gases on the low ground. That's where the drones were, so I guess you may as well. Lair coming up right here for Serral. Reynor, in the meantime, going +1 carapace together with link speed. Third hatchery is already about halfway done for him. Serral decides to play 2 base for now. And this is turning out to be a very dynamic game right now. Neither player really committing to any sort of way of ending it soon, I don't think. Yeah, Reynor's droning behind. Good number of Zerglings, though. No link speed done for Serral, so those units are not going to go home. Send a little cart, maybe, to Brenda. Her brood is no longer. Unlucky. Full wall off here for Serral. He doesn't know about the follow-up drones. I'm assuming to see a lair here as well for Reynor in a moment. He really does need one if he wants to continue playing. I'm assuming that's what we're going to be doing in a moment. Unless he... Yeah, there we go. Unless he really wants to go into... maybe like a roach all-in or something, but that'd be kind of dumb. Serral's fully walled off. Don't think we need to. Yeah. But now the question is, can you take a third base? Ah, okay. Serral has decided that no, it's a little difficult. With so many blue Zerglings right outside of his door, we're gonna go for a Spire instead. I like this spot more and more right now for Reynor. Reynor's got a third base. He's got his opponent soft contained. He can certainly try to deny this base some more, although he doesn't actually go after the drone there. I don't know if he didn't notice. Just the positioning, though, of this roach. The posturing over here. Look at this bad boy. Look at him bouncing. Yeah, just the positioning on the roach makes it pretty apparent that there is a third base coming. Roach is now for the player in blue. Spire, though, is going to be done within the next half minute. It is a lot of roaches here, though. Do you assume that it's going to be mutas right now if you're Reynor? Because Serral has been making quite a few roaches. Preparing some OVs right now. Fake move out. Overlord up in the air sees it. Reynor panics a little bit. Starts up a whole lot of defensive roaches. But sometimes defensive roaches can turn into offensive roaches real quick. Serral over-droning the 2 bases that he's got for now. Ready to effectively do the thing that we see from Terran a lot, right? Where you over-drone the bases that you've got, but then when you fly the 3rd command center down to the low ground, you transfer the workers with it. I guess that's the best thing to do right now, but it does mean that, yeah, the supply is going to tip more and more in favor of a Reynor for the foreseeable future. Despite the even worker count, he's mining way more. No mules here in this matchup, last time I checked. He's got more army, he's got more economy. What he doesn't have, however, is flying units or anti-air. Serral, though, not really using the mutas here for straight damage on the other side of the map. Mostly just trying to get rid of overlords here and get that map control back. Quite like it. This is going to reduce the amount of vision for Reynor tremendously, right? So previously, if you look at his vision right now on the minimap, previously, he had a lot of vision out. He could see all of the movement on the other side, but no longer. And there's still 3 OVs here. Honestly, I wonder if it's worth going overlord speed as soon as you see mutas and just sending them back home. Serral's gonna have to defend here against those links. It's Reynor's signature move. Yeah, I think these mutas are really nice. They've already killed, like, what? 6, maybe 7 overlords? Roach is on the back of this, though. He's forcing out a Hydra transition as well from Reynor. Mass Roach is actually superior, but here we go. Reynor is sending it. 100 army supply flat for both players. Zerglings will lose value over time, but this is a really nice grab here for Reynor. Probably getting the best case engagement that he could really be hoping for. Mutas are going to be running back home as well, or flying back home, I guess. Reynor making a whole lot of Hydras on the back of this. Drones try to escape. Reinforcements will eventually pop out of their cocoons, and I think that will be enough for Serral to force his army back home. It's a good enough defense. But you know what? Maybe a bit of an overextension as well here for Reynor. Those Hydralisks were bait. You do want to have Hydras at some point in this matchup, usually. The end unit composition is usually going to be lurker-based. But in order to play lurkers, you really do need, like, at least 4 bases. You need, like, 8 gases in order to run that. And Obviously, with the latest patch, every base has 500 gas less compared to what they used to have. Doesn't really sound that significant, but 2,000 gas on 4 bases less? It's a lot of lurkers. At least assuming you can mine all of the gases out. Okay, Serral still being a little bit annoying. Supply count is fine though here for Reynor. I always have a tendency to favor the player that has mutas out. Even though this is only a handful, this is really not that many, but mutas are just so nice. Like, grabbing that map control is huge. You're just in the dark here as Reynor. He's actually moving some Zerglings right now as spotter units. So that's apparently how we're trying to maintain a little bit of map presence, because you just end up seeing nothing otherwise. Could get burrow maybe, but burrowed units don't have as much vision as unburrowed units, so... yeah. Yeah, forced to send it back. And look at the vision here on the minimap for Reynor. He's just seeing nothing. He doesn't know. Serral, in the meantime, has got a lot more. He's going to be able to snipe the opponent's attempted 4th hatch. In the meantime, all the way up north, Serral's going to go for one of those juicy bases. Gas over here in a little bit of trouble. What killed the queen? Wait, what just... hold up. How did Brenda die? I saw Brenda die just now. I backed up like 10-15 seconds. What did Brenda do? Brenda died over here. So this is when the roaches go in, right? This is where the mutas go in. How did Brenda die? We need to know. Oh, corrosive biles. No. Brenda got biled to death. At least it was quick. At least it was quick. Sad day to be a Zerg fan. Hydras here do provide a lot of additional damage. As long as they're not in the front and they can shoot over the backs of the roaches. It's really nice. Serral probably wishing he made an extra couple mutas now. Yeah, sniping this one would be nice though. Sniping this base over again would be really sweet. But now, yeah, no, now the Hydras are here. It's not going to happen. Okay. Golden minerals are going to be available for Serral in a sec. He's going to transfer some drones for now. Not really willing to make additional workers. Usually in this matchup, you don't go as many drones as you normally would in Zerg versus Terran or Zerg versus Protoss. It's just a little difficult to do. Ooh, corrosive biles through that line of sight blocker. I don't mind this engagement here for Reynor, though. Those Hydras are providing a ton of additional damage output. Both players have identical upgrades. Roaches on the left side as well. On the right, mutas over here, moving into the natural expansion again. That'll be the end of the queen and the gas. Oh, and burrow is going to be used here as well by Serral. He doesn't have tunneling claws, but he does have burrow, which is pretty sweet. Getting that instead of, I guess, Zergling speed. He never got link speed in this game. Those mutas, man, it's just been like 5 mutas in total, but they have gotten a remarkable amount of damage done. I think we're going to see the last of the mutas here in a moment. Look, another Overlord, though, before they ultimately do go down. Serral's positioning here, I don't love. Taking a lot of damage here. Still, backing up here out of the concave is not going to be beneficial for Reynor. Tunneling Claws now coming up for Serral, who's doubling down on the Roach army. You do want to tech up towards Hive eventually, and maybe that's what this Hydra, or the Infestation Pit rather, is for. Viper's good, Lurker's good, Hydra's good, +3 upgrades good. There's a lot of things that are very good at Hive tech, but can you get there? When both players are just massing Roach the entire game long, or at least the entire mid-game long, can you afford to make the big investment? Reynor right now pushing this unit composition back. Still adding on a few Hydras. I really like it, actually. Just sprinkling in a handful of Hydralisks really does give you just so much more damage. It's like a ratio of like 5 Roaches for every Hydra. It's not much, but if you made them already and you upgraded them already, you may as well. It's probably not 100% value to get the structures just for this sort of thing. Alright. It's time to step up the multitasking some more. We're at a meager 460 average actions per minute. So you may as well use that for a little bit more multitasking. So far, though, Reynor is all over it. Corrosive Biles are not all connecting. I do like Hydras better here than Ravagers, for sure. Just a little bit more foolproof, I guess. You can't really make a whole lot of mistakes. In the meantime, both players did secure their 4th base. Serral's base, though, has some gold on it, right? That does help. If we look at the income. Yeah, despite the similar worker count, Serral is mining a little bit more. That may also have to do, though, with distribution. I don't know if we have perfect saturation here. No, we do. This fourth base has become so important, though. Corrosive Balls connect. Maybe overextension here by Serral. He needs to back up. Roaches will die as they try to back up. Microbial Shroud, by the way, could be really sick too, but keep in mind that Microbial Shroud is also affecting opposing units if they step inside of the cloud. So it's something you throw it down on the map, kind of like Storm, I guess. If your friendly units walk into it or the opposing units, it doesn't really matter. Storm's beautifully impartial like that. Storm does not discriminate, man. It just deals insane damage to everybody. It's the same for Microbial Shroud, although a little bit more utility. So we have an Infestation Pit here for both players, but neither of them committing to Infestors or a Hive or anything like that yet. Nice catch over here, though. Reynor's going to be able to get rid of those units. And Serral, for the most part, is just backing up. He's got a lot of low HP troops. Doesn't really want to continue engaging. Low HP units, though, when you turn them into a Ravager, will spawn at full HP. Spine Crawlers and a Spore Crawler, maybe? No, double Spine Crawler over here. No, it's a Spine and a Spore. Okay. Serral, though, is committing. Hive now coming up for Reynor. He's decided to, blink first. This is when we play Hive Chicken. Reynor making the big investment. Is it the right call? If Serral keeps pushing with units, the cost of going Hive may actually be detrimental. Likewise, though, if he doesn't push, not going Hive may have the same consequence, but then in favor of the opponent. Reynor actually pretending like he's not making big investments right now. He's got a lot of money available to him, though. I wouldn't mind seeing another 10 drones right here for the Italian. It's a little bit low on workers, which is a little problematic if the game does go on a lot longer. Serral, though, has been responsible for that number of drones going down. Okay. Yeah, no Hive here for Serral. In the meantime, Hive is nearly done right here for Reynor. Just getting a few Vipers would be huge. Reynor decides to push the issue right now. He saw the Ravagers being somewhat exposed. This is a risky play right here, though, for our blue player. Why take this chance right now? Right outside of the front door of Serral with an army that's very flimsy. I really don't think we need to do that. A lot of Roaches are going to reinforce it. +3 attacks coming up for those Roaches. It's going to be a long time, though, until those are finally finished. There's the Lurker Den. Oh, no. Serral's trying to cut these units off. They decided to move back home through this right side corridor. Maybe they thought it was a highway or something, but not the case. No speed-up circles in that portion of the map. That does mean that Serral is gonna... Ooh, okay, maybe find some of the units, but Reynor has Burrow. He decides to unburrow, though, because he thought that there would be an Overseer nearby. Not the case. In the meantime, there's a secondary fight over here. Ravagers are very exposed, but Corrosive Balls will connect. Nice micro right there by Serral. Suddenly, Reynor's supply count is absolutely plummeting. There are a bunch of changelings over here, making it a bit difficult for those Ravagers to maneuver around. Serral forced to just make as many units as possible. Look, Serral's keeping this game simple. We go Roaches or we die. That's the plan. Reynor is trying to make this game more complex, and it can work out, but I really don't know if we want to be taking fights over here right at that stage in the game. Serral now forced to pull a couple drones to maybe sec some of the damage. In the meantime, some tunneling Claude units have been moving around. 23 workers have now been killed in total. +3 attack is on the horizon here for Reynor now. It's about halfway done. Serral still at Lair Tech. His natural is running out. Even his third base is not going to be far behind here. Man, he's still being such a nuisance. Likewise here for Reynor, though. Reynor's kind of broke. Reynor now only on 38 workers. The longer that this goes on, the better it's going to be for the player in blue, because Seismic Spines, +3 attack, all of this is extremely beneficial. Other than Corrosive Biles, Serral does not have a good counter here against Lurkers. So even though Reynor has been making... I don't think the last few minutes have been too efficient for him. So making a couple mistakes here and there. But ultimately, if he can get to lurkers, life is going to be good. Now, Serral sees them now, I believe, for the first time. He must have had a glimpse of those units morphing in. And is that going to trigger a response? 5th hatchery over on the right side of the map. Really, the only thing Serral can do is jump it or corrosive bile it. But jumping units that deal a lot of damage... Hello. What are you doing, bud? You spasming out? Alright, it's okay, it's okay. Jumping units that deal so much damage is always dangerous. I don't recommend jumping lurkers. Maybe though, he can go up to the high ground. Yeah, use this army here for zoning. There's one lurker on the right only. Corrosive Biles here. No response from Reynor. He's gonna die on top of the fountain. But yeah, Serral doesn't know, right? It's so risky, because when you see the spines moving around, you wonder how many lurkers there are. There's only a handful. There's now 7 of them in total. It's not that many, but you never truly know. Serral decides to jump it. Serral decides to jump the lurkers. The numbers here are just overwhelmingly in favor of Serral, who is still not going into a hive. He's just doubling down. You gotta double down. That'll be the end of this base. And this is really the only mining that Reynor has got going. There's a little bit as well over on the left. Actually, maybe a little bit more than a little bit. But still, Serral's going to be able to start outproducing the player in blue heavily here. Oh, dude, that bait! That bait! Woo, beautiful. He knew that the lurkers were burrowed there. Many of the units are now coming in from the side, I guess, but that'll be the end of all of this. GG gets called. It's Serral who wins game number 3. And that will take us to the map Rainfall. Match point here for Serral. Reynor may have won 4 games in one tournament in a row against Serral. But now Serral has won 2. That previous game was really close, though. What are the problems you run into if you are a top-ranking Zerg? And considering you're watching this, you're probably not. Highly doubt any of these guys are going to be watching this. Anyways. The problem you run into is that you can't really practice it very much. Like, say you are Serral, right? Say you are Reynor. How do you practice this matchup? How many people can really play at your level? There's a handful. There's a handful. And some of them, most of them, wouldn't really want to practice. Mostly because it doesn't benefit them. If you are Serral, do you really want to give Reynor practice games in Zerg vs. Zerg when he's been one of your main nemesis? When he's one of your main nemesis at a offline tournament? Probably not. Now it's Serral, by the way, going for a pool first. Hatchery first in the meantime for Reynor, so that's a little bit cheeky. This is a 10 pool counter, I guess. No 10 pool this time around. Likewise, obviously, there's some really high-ranking Korean Zergs. But, yeah, playing with like 150 ping, Zerg versus Zerg, I don't know, man. It might be somewhat good practice, but it's not quite the same. Now, the main thing to do would be to play ladder, but neither Serral nor Reynor really plays a ton of ladder. They do play. Maybe occasionally they will meet. But, little Overlord kiss? Yeah, a little, nah, honestly, that was kind of rude. They kind of touched cheeks a little bit. Anyway, it is a problem you run into, right? So say you are, say you are at like 6.8k MMR or so, right? Like say you're one of the absolute highest ranked players on the ladder. Even if you play one ladder game at that point and you're like, I don't really want to be playing against the opponent right now. I just don't want to give them free practice. You can just stop playing ladder for a moment, right? It's that simple. Because the amount of people you go up against is very small. So re-queuing would just be kind of dumb. You may as well just take a break for an hour, come back, and probably not see them for a while. So how do you practice it? You practice in your mind. You play by yourself, with yourself. That's how you do it. In custom games against the AI, by the way, just to clarify. Get your heads out of the gutter. All right. Queens are going to be available right here for Reynor. Serral does have a low ground expo now too. By the way, getting a pool first into a hedge first, you would imagine hedge first is way better. It is a little bit better, but it's not by much. The main advantage is larva, especially with the new patch and the ways that like larva gets generated a little bit quicker on a hatchery. You do get a little bit more larva production with a hedge first, but it's remarkably small. Main advantage, of course, of going pool first is that you get the queen out faster. This goes for all matchups, by the way. So you get the queen out a little bit quicker. And obviously that generates larva for you too. So don't overestimate, I guess, the value of a hedge first versus a pool first. As a matter of fact, if you're a ladder hero, you probably want to be doing pool first as Zerg more often than you go hedge first. Below probably like Master League, maybe Grandmaster League, because it's just safer. And honestly, you can climb very far just going pool first every game. You could climb all the way to this level, theoretically, going pool first every game. Anyway, Serral has decided to sneak out a Roach Warren over here. Double gas inside of the main base. He's making this look like a 2-base macro game. That Evo chamber, though, is fake. Brenda? Not fake. Brenda's looking white, though. Look at her. She's taking up that 3x3 spot. No, it's a 2x2, I guess. Yeah, ramp here is kind of tight. Anyways, Brenda's been going to the gym. Ooh, and here we go. Cancels the Evo chamber. This will be the first time that Reynor sees it. Reynor has gone for an Evo chamber of his own, but he is going to have to defend a large number of Zerglings and Roaches with just Zerglings of his own. Okay. Do you think Brenda would be really good in the water, by the way? Look at those little... like, she's got, like, webbed feet, dude. Look at that. It's crazy. Imagine Brenda in the bathtub. In the swimming pool. All right, anyways. Serral going in. He wants to go for the Roach Warren here for a little... or for the Baneling Nest, rather, for just a little bit. But it's just buying time for his own Banelings to come out. When do we send it? That's the question. This is giving a lot of time, though, for Reynor. Reynor's getting his own defensive Banelings out. He's got 2 Spine Crawlers available, too. I wonder if Serral's being a little bit too passive. Ooh, loses a Baneling there as well to the little Brutelings. Mistakes are made right here by Serral, but he does have just a lot of stuff, right? And just having more stuff usually is better. Queens are a little overexposed. Ooh, yeah, it's so tricky. How do you engage this? As long as there's red Banelings, the blue Zerglings are going to have a really hard time. Oh, no, he's sending it. He's going in. He wants to get the big detonations off, but the Banelings here for Serral mostly survive. And that is the end of basically all of the Banelings here for Reynor. Drones do stay alive for now, though. Spinecrawler still putting in the work. Nice movement here by Reynor, who does have way more drones. Nice detonation there, but I mean, I'm liking this. I'm liking this better right now for Reynor than I did a minute ago. It's the Spine Crawlers mostly that put so much value into the mix here. Serral's decided to go into a third hatch. I think that's mostly just because he didn't have enough larva generation to keep flooding the map with links. At some point you, just need to spend your money somewhere. Spine Crawler goes in. Keep in mind that the third base is still up here for Reynor. Serral's doubling down. Oh. It's kind of risky. Do we have enough? Nice splits here by Reynor. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This seems like a mistake. Drones right now coming up. How does Reynor respond? Is he going to actually make non-stop units now and return the favor on the other side of the map? He's had more workers mining for a bit. This is when the drones got pulled for defense. But as the dust is settling right now, Reynor does have more income than the opponent. Links over here get spotted on the right side of the map. That's nice. Quite a few links. And it's a very long list of dead things right here on the side of Reynor. And that is something that's worth noting, right? Like, he may have had more income, but he also lost substantially more. In low eco situations, that does matter. Seems like it's now Reynor's turn to maybe test the waters a little bit on the other side of the map. Serral did smash his piggy bank. +1 Evo. Missile upgrades here would be phenomenal. Roaches with +1. 2-shot Zerglings that are unarmored. Without the +1, it takes them 3 shots. So it adds up really quickly. If there is an engagement with mass Zerglings versus +1 Roaches, which happens all the time in this matchup, the +1 Roaches do absolutely destroy. Serral just spotted the amount of drones, though, over at the third base, or the lack thereof. It's going to force him to start making some units again defensively for himself. Yeah, and I think the +1 is going to be huge. This +1 upgrade, it's good against Zerglings, obviously, but it's also massively beneficial against Roaches. I think Serral probably is going to have to go ahead and send it. I think you just try it out, right? You know that there's not going to be any speed Roaches out for the opponent anytime soon. He's just not really going to be able to afford something like it. So if you have basically the fastest moving unit on the map, because Lynx with +1, with +1 Roaches, they're not going to do it. I think you kind of have to go. Yeah. It's a bit risky to go with slow Roaches when you know your opponent might be finishing up Glial Reconstitution, because it becomes a one-way trip very quickly. But you can always go back home right now if you are Serral. Still though, looks like he's meaning to deal big damage here on the other side of the map. Ravagers and a little hit squad here do move forward to try and bow down Overlords. It's going to reduce vision, but also supply block. Oh, well, I think we flew into that one, actually. A little bit of panic right here on the side of the Italian. +1 attack, man. It's so good. Reynor's upgrade is going to kick in as well within a half minute. But is this game still going to last for that long? Serral's pushing the issue right now. He's definitely clicked one of the Roaches in blue and saw that they don't have their upgrades just yet. Nice micro here, though, by both players. Reynor's going to have to pull the drones. Yeah, he's pulling the drones right now to try and soak some of the damage up. Now +1 is done, but it does not matter. Ultimately, Reynor is going to have to tap out. Serral gets his revenge. And that means that ultimately it is Serral who moves on in the tournament. And Reynor gets eliminated.